Welcome to today's Women's National Team media call from the Olympic champions Canada. We have head coach Bev Priestman on the call today to discuss the upcoming November matches against Mexico, as well as the squad announcement this afternoon.
Hi, Bev. How you doing?
Hi, Derek.
Good to see you. I guess, Bev, we can just start with a general thought on getting an opportunity to go to Mexico and gathering the squad again and playing a couple of games to see the year out here. Can you just give me a thought on getting a chance to do that?
Yeah, I think firstly, we obviously wanted to get another home fixture and connect with our fans, but I think the reality that we're living in, you had teams lined up, you've got vaccination issues and recognised vaccinations, and so we tried endlessly to make that happen. We couldn't, so we're committed to coming back in potentially the April window. But I think what was pleasing for me, the group were really determined that no matter whether we're at home or not, we want to keep pushing forward. And obviously Mexico have definitely improved over the years and will be a threat for us in terms of qualification and all the rest of it. So it's just a great opportunity to practice against CONCACAF opposition, Tier 2 opposition, which you've seen against New Zealand. We're trying to put more goals in the back of the net. So it's a great opportunity to push forward. And then I think with some of the roster realities, it's a great chance to move forward and look at the future and assess some players.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Is this a step forward, or is this kind of still looking back at what you've done, or is this kind of the first step towards the World Cup in Australia and New Zealand?
Yeah, it's absolutely stepping forward. I think, I said to the players in the last camp, I joked about it, that I'd already stepped forward, opening meeting World Cup. This is where we're going. This is what we're going to do. So for me, definitely this is about stepping forward, moving forward, and even tactically, implementing some new things as we build towards the World Cup.
Thanks, Bev. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Bev. I know you mentioned it just now to Derek about the challenges in getting a home match here in Canada. You mentioned in Montreal working around the clock to try and finalize something. What was the main factor in it kind of falling apart? Was it the vaccinations? Was it insurance or travel? Can you kind of speak about that more in depth?
Yeah, it was absolutely, I guess, recognised vaccinations here in Canada and the teams that we had on the table. That essentially was the final point where some teams just couldn't come in because of that. And so it's the world we live in. And I think the players fully understood and are ready to move forward regardless. We weren't just going to sit still in this window. But yeah, I think, obviously we would love to have been a BC place. You've got Sinclair, you've got a whole load of players from Vancouver, but we'll be sure to make sure it happens in the near future.
Yeah, we mentioned the spring window as a possibility for more games in Canada. There's also a February window coming up on the 14th to the 23rd. Will Canada be playing in one of those tournaments? I'm hearing maybe a tournament hosted by England. Is that something you can speak about with a smile there?
No, I think we definitely will be active in that window. We've always taken part in tournaments. The She Believes was a massive part of our Olympic journey that started a year ago in that window. So we'll definitely be taking part in the tournament. Details to be sort of announced in the near future, but it'll be exciting.
Cheers, Coach.
Thanks.
Coach, thanks for the time. Just wondering if I can pick your brain a little bit about Surayeka, because I do remember her with the program. I think you were still with the youth program at that time. I think she played under you. It's been about, 5 or 6 years, and I'm fascinated about her journey where she goes. She decides she's going to play professionally in Europe, and here she's on the radar again. So if you can tell us a little bit about her and what this past 5 years has been like.
Yeah, I think with Sura, she was my first sort of discovery the first week in the job when I came to Canada. I remember calling John saying, we've got a great player here. Sura's, she's, to be fair to her, let her career tell a story. She's went to Germany. Now she's in Le Havre in France. And, I'd always kept a close eye on Sura because I felt she had the qualities, technically physical qualities to play at the highest level. And so, I've always been interested since I got the job to see how Sura's doing. And so I managed to watch some clips. And I think the reality of this roster, I'm really excited to see what Sura can bring to the group. It definitely has modern fullback type qualities that, you're seeing an Ashley Lawrence. And so, I'm excited to see what Sura lands like in Mexico and start that journey again and push Sura to basically fulfill her potential, because I think there's bags of it there.
And could you see her being a multi-positional player? You touched on it a little bit there, but someone like Gabby Carl, Ashley Lawrence, you have the ability to move them around on the pitch.
Absolutely. And I think when you're in tournament football, which we will be, that's critical. I think, like I say, when you've got technical and physical speed in the women's game, it's really nice to have. And so, I don't want to put too much pressure on Sura. I think for Sura, reintegrating into the program is important. And, she's got a love for the game. And now we have to try and get the best out of her in our environment.
Cheers, Coach.
Thanks, Richard, and thank you, Bev, for taking the time to talk to us. Wondering if you can give us an update on a couple players. Adriana Leon, I know she recently underwent surgery, and then also Janine Becky, if you could give an update for them.
Yeah, I'm gutted for Adriana. I thought she had an outstanding last tour against New Zealand, but yeah, unfortunately, injured her foot similar to before, but, we'll be back stronger than ever. She did that going into the Olympics, and if there's a time to be injured and be building back up, it's definitely now, ahead of qualifiers mid-year. And then Janine Becky, we collectively decided that this window was the best time for Janine to get some treatment that she needs. She needs sort of a 5 to 7 day window of no activity to do that. And we decided, obviously, she hasn't got a break in a club fixture. It's very congested. So we collectively decided that this window would be the best because she needed to get some medical treatment. So, obviously both big losses, and then you had Gabby and you had Jade, but I'm actually really excited to give a chance to some future players as well.
And then also just with Sabrina D'Angelo being back with the team, wondering what the latest is with her and if we could expect her to see some time in net this time around.
Yeah, I think it's, she keeps clean sheets. Sabrina's unbelievable character was close to obviously making the Olympic roster. So it's difficult to say right now until we're in the environment, but, Sabrina will be a big part of the future moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Bev. Thanks for talking to us, and I hope you and your family are doing well. With regards to the two games against Mexico, was there something specific about Mexico, their sort of profile as a team, that sort of made them a desirable opponent in terms of your preparation for the Olympic and World Cup qualifiers next summer?
Yeah, I think, when you analyze an Olympics and a World Cup, you have way more tier 2, tier 3 teams in the makeup of a World Cup because of the 32 teams. And and then you go and add that, you've got qualification, which could be in Mexico, so you go into altitude and you get that experience. So I think a blend of the style, the tier of opponent that we need to be able to be convincingly beaten. But Mexico by no means are a weak opponent. I just watched them against the US from their recent games. They're a hard team, and to be fair to Monica, she's got them aggressive, and, they're a tenacious team to play. So for us, it was definitely about us moving toward tier 2 games, experience heading into that World Cup, because we can't prepare the same way that we did for an Olympics as to go and help us be more successful at a World Cup.
Thanks, Bev. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Just a couple of questions on some of the NCAA call-ups for this window. And the first one on Nikayla Small, who's, had quite a good freshman season with Wake Forest this year. Obviously wary to the fact that Wake Forest are still alive in the tournament. Is Nikayla going to join, behind the deadline or behind a timeline of some of the other players?
Yeah, I think the 19th Nikayla's team play, and then they'll know their fate from that point. And so we join up after that date. There is dialogue around whether they progress and what that looks like. But I think the call up for Nikayla was on the premise that, she's there the whole time. It's a great opportunity for a young player who should be a key player for our under-20 team that are going to go and, try and qualify early next year. And so I really believe in giving these players some experiences that will go and help a youth team and help them in their journey.
Appreciate that answer. And the other quick one on the new face, Amanda West, who's had a very solid career with Pittsburgh. Believe she is their program leader in multiple categories: goals, points per game. Just a couple of words on her and what made you what sort of gave her the edge on this window.
Yeah, so we've been tracking Amanda for a while. I think our stats speak for itself. You know, we objectively track, we watch footage, but she was actually due to come in the last window, but couldn't because of an injury. And so I promised her that she would come into this particular tour. So I think what I've seen with Amanda, she scores goals, she's direct, and just seems like a really, really good person. So always keen to have those sorts of players around. So it'd be interesting to see her in a national team environment. You know, the pace of the game and everything will be different, but excited from what I watched as to what she can bring either now or in the future.
Appreciate both of those answers, Bev, and obviously good luck down in Mexico.
Thank you.
Obviously a bigger squad this time around, 26 players. You know, as you mentioned before, October was kind of that start of your push towards next year, towards qualifying towards the World Cup. How important is having this extended roster to kind of show, okay, that nothing's going to be given, everything's going to be earned, and kind of creating that competitive mindset ahead of next year?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's critical. I think a key ingredient of the success that we had was no shirt was a given. And I think that absolutely stands as it is right now. I think what you see is when people are at their highest moments or their lowest moments, you see a lot in players. And I think those hungry players who consistently want to turn up, do the work every single day, those high performers that this group's made of up in abundance. I think to bring in some young talent who, you know, just pushes people to be better, and it's there for the taking. I think, you know, a 23-player roster for the World Cup, we have to have a wider pool that we look at and know that, you know, when you play a tier 1 team and then you play a tier 2 team, that rhythm changes a lot in the World Cup, very much different to an Olympics. You have to know who your tier 2 team is, who your tier 1, and, you know, and also just looking at formations as well. So it's exciting. I'm excited to take the step forward on the journey. I'm excited to see what players turn up, their mindset, the new faces and how they integrate with the group. As a coach, that's all you want, a hungry group who are willing to learn. And I've felt that from day one with this group, and we'll continue to have that ethos going forward.
And then kind of the second one for me, obviously, as of late, Jessie Fleming and Deanne Rose have been an excellent form over in England. There's obviously a good chunk of Canadian players playing over in England right now. Kind of what do you make of all the emerging stories you've seen from your players in England? Do you think that might lead to more players wanting to make that jump over to the country in the future to play professionally?
Yeah, I think, listen, what we're seeing, and it's been a real pleasure to see Jessie do what she's done in a team that's made up of, you know, and some of the substitutes that are coming off instead of Jessie. I think it speaks volumes to what Emma Hayes is seeing in her. She's scoring against top teams like Manchester City. So, yeah, I think it's a mixture of the confidence that comes with success. I think you can see a newfound confidence. And I think same with Deanne Rose. Deanne Rose has killed it from the minute she got on the pitch at Reading and is the real threat in that league. And so I think it shines a spotlight on what Canadian players can offer in European leagues. And I've got no doubt it might open the door for some of our players to make their way to Europe, which so far is working really well for our players in that league. You look at Shalina, Janine, Deanne, Jessie, like the four corners, not just the technical. It's a really good starting point for our players to develop.
Thank you very much. And we'll just close up with one last question, Bev. And just in terms of you traveling this weekend, how excited are you to get back on the pitch, and what are you looking forward to most with the Canadian squad? Yeah, I think, you know, really looking forward to getting to work. I think whenever a camp's over, that last New Zealand camp, I was thrilled with game one, wasn't happy with game two. And as an international coach, you want to get straight back on the pitch and put the wrongs right. Not that it was all wrong, but I think, you know, the nature of the celebration tour meant lots of changes. So I'm excited to get to work, to introduce some new concepts with the group. And then probably more importantly, I think just to see some new blood in the environment and see what some of these young talented players can bring and blend that with the experience and the group that went and landed us on the podium. So it should be a really dynamic camp that will be challenging. I think with 3 days turnaround in altitude, you need a wider roster. So some great players will get on the pitch. Thank you very much, Bev. Thank you very much, everyone. That will wrap up our women's national team media call with head coach Bev Priestman from the Olympic champions Canada.